How are you feeling about your superannuation right now? Bit worried that it might not be turning out the way that you once hoped? As a passionate believer in superannuation, I feel disappointed too that traditional superannuation managers continue to try to convince us that shares should be at the core of our portfolios. And so often we go to see our investment advisor and he tells us to just hang in there and that things will go up. And you know what? He's probably right over the long term. But so many of us are starting to look for new and different ways of being able to save for our retirement and to reinvigorate our superannuation. And so many Australians are very, very good at property investment. In actual fact, it seems that property is at the core of who we are. Getting together to deposit for our first house, saving for that investment property just seems to be part of our ethos. And I believe that it's so natural for Australians to really be looking towards investment property to help them to generate a better retirement. Bricks and mortar, it seems, are a tangible thing. We love to be able to pull up out the front of it and look at it. We also love to feel like we are a landlord. And so we continue to look for better ways to be able to invest in residential real estate to help us to grow our retirement nest egg. But let's just reconsider superannuation for a moment. Because as an investment advisor, I really love superannuation. And the reason I love it is because superannuation isn't an investment at all. Superannuation is simply a blank tax structure in which we can hold those investments that we want to use to help us to generate our retirement income. The great thing about superannuation is that the concessional, low-taxed environment that the government have generated for us allows us to maximise the income and keep most of it and not lose as much in tax. So let's just talk about that for a moment. If you're investing in a property outside of superannuation, the rental income that you received is taxed at your marginal rate. And when you go to sell that property, the capital gains tax is added to your assessable income and taxed at your marginal rate. Inside of superannuation, the tax rate is much, much lower. So we get to keep a really substantial portion of the rental income and the earnings that we generate. In addition to that, when we get to retirement, the tax rate falls to zero. And that means that when we go to sell that property and to use it to fund our retirement, there is no capital gains tax at all. So all of a sudden the penny drops. If we can take this fantastic low taxed environment that is superannuation and we can combine it with what is a really comfortable and familiar investment strategy of investing in property and put those two concepts together, then surely what we've got here is one of the greatest concepts of being able to build wealth that there is. In 2007, the rules changed so that we can now borrow within our superannuation funds using self-managed super. And that's meant that most of us can now afford to look at buying an investment property instead of just adopting traditional methods of investing and generating a portfolio within super. But the question here is, do you have enough to be able to fund the 25% deposit that you're going to need to be able to go and get that loan from the bank and to be able to buy that property within your superannuation? The great thing about self-managed super is you can combine your balance with that of your spouse, put it together and get to that deposit faster. You also need to be able to make the mortgage repayments, and you can use the contribution your employer is making to superannuation on your behalf, your own voluntary or salary sacrifice contributions, plus the rental income that your property that you've just purchased is generating to pay the mortgage repayments. So in essence, it may not affect your day-to-day cash flow at all. So right now you've probably got more questions than answers. So why not give us a call and sit down with us and talk through whether or not this is an opportunity which you can grab hold of. We look forward to hearing from you.